What's up, my fellow scruffy looking nerf herders, and welcome to the Carbonite Chat. Today we have the teaser of the episode 9. The saga comes to a completion. The movie everyone has been waiting for, that just after episode 8, you were you could not wait to find out what would happen next. I mean, there were so many questions left open. And then we had to wait so long for a trailer to come out. Everyone's so eager to see, like, what's finally going to happen? Hey, how are we going to answer all those questions that, like, were left open-ended? Like, all the things that we didn't know, where would we go from here? There's so many just, like, cliffhangers and things that would drive you insane for 2 years waiting to find out, finally get to see the completion. And then to get the title of this movie, The Rise of Skywalker, the best title out of all Star Wars movies combined. I mean, you could not have come up with a better title name for the end of the saga Skywalker saga than I can't even speak because I'm so excited, because this trailer and this title were so unbelievably good. It's the exact opposite. The Rise of the Skywalker. What a stupid name. What a terrible, terrible name. How could this be the brilliant finale that you have? So, you have this story of this family that rises to power over many, many decades, over 8 movies that we've seen, in which this family has been at the pinnacle of power, or right 1 or 2, because you can say, yeah, Emperor Palpatine was numero uno in the first few movies, but from Revenge of the Sith on, Vader was number 2, and then Luke rose up and was right there with them, and then defeated them in Return of the Jedi, which happened in 1983. And then lo and behold, we thought this whole time we had already seen The Rise of the Skywalkers, that episode 9 would be the closing out of the Skywalker story. But no. Episode 9, the end of the Skywalker saga, is actually when they rise. That's actually when it happens. All the other stuff, that's not rising. Luke coming up and rising from being nothing more than a water farmer on Tatooine with his uncle, rising up through the ranks of the rebellion to become the first Jedi in many years, to then destroying the Death Star as he believed in, trusted in the Force. It's just episode 8 where he begins to get his training, goes and gets defeated, but then episode 9 returns as an actual Jedi Knight, defeats Jabba the Hutt, rescues his friends, and then goes and defeats Emperor Palpatine and turns back Vader, and also defeating Vader. You thought that might be the rise, or you might have thought it's Anakin Skywalker coming up from a slave child, and then over time turning to evil. And by the end of episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, he now stands next to Emperor Palpatine, his right-hand man, number 2 in power over the entire galaxy. You might have thought that was the rise of the Skywalkers to evil. You may have thought that, but no. If there's anything we've learned about Disney Star Wars so far, we kill the past. We kill it. And since there hasn't really been a Skywalker in this trilogy so far, now it's rising. And that's how we're going to wrap up and connect it. You're going to find out that the prior Skywalkers are no one. They don't matter. Which might be what Kylo meant, because it seems like, since it's the rise of Skywalkers, unless by some chance Kylo is going to come back and he's going to turn good, or there's going to be some kind of twist where he ends up being, I don't see how that happens. I don't see how he turns good and doesn't die. So how is that a rise? Because he's going to die immediately. So it seems like they're pretty largely hinting at, they're going to reveal that somehow Rey's a Skywalker. It seems like maybe from the crying scene with her and Leia, maybe that's where it's going to be mentioned to her that, she's actually their child, which won't make any sense in the world. But yeah, that's, you know, whatever. So that's the only thing that makes sense is Rey becomes a Skywalker. Unless by some chance, the only other way it could work out is if it's another rise to evil and Kylo destroys everybody and it's the rise of the Skywalkers again. Yet, that still wouldn't make sense because it happened beforehand. What a terrible name. What a awful, awful name they chose for this. That is... It's mind-boggling, honestly. I mean, it's hard to come up with a Star Wars movie name. I mean, I can't think of any. I know a lot of people come up with like a bunch of different things. But like to think about that you got to come up with something that's got to please everyone. And it's got to stand as a symbol for this movie. But it's also got to stand as a symbol for the closing out of this entire trilogy. But also, because this is the final episode of the entire Skywalker saga, at least that's what they're saying now, until 20 years from now or 10 years from now when they decide they need to try to reboot the thing and make some more money with Star Wars. And then they're like, oh, no, we decided episode 10 is going to come out actually. Then this is supposed to be the end. So it's supposed to symbolize and be a representative of the end of an entire 9-episode saga. That's a lot of pressure to come up with a title for a movie that can kind of put together all of that. But you know what doesn't put together any of that? The Rise of the Skywalkers. That is the dumbest title name ever. It just shows how little understanding they really have of any of this. I clipped in my reaction the first time I watched it. I've really only seen it once. I screen recorded that, so I technically have watched it play through twice. I didn't have the volume up when I did it though, so I didn't really watch it. I kind of just screen recorded it to put that clip in of the opening scene of Matrix Rey, which kind of fits because she did just kind of get all the information and skills just kind of plugged into her immediately. So it would make sense that she can just kind of slow motion backflip over fighter pilots as they're flying at her at full speed. And of course, Kylo, being a force sensitive, could not put together that might could happen and lift a little bit, and then thus being the end of Rey. You know, he is of the lineage of Anakin Skywalker, who was one of the best fighter pilots of all time, who could, you know, use the Force to be able to understand when things were about to happen and react to them very quickly. Thus, it would make sense that he could just lift up a little bit and then done for. But no, not to Rey. Not to Rey. That was so stupid. It's like, oh, we got Kobe Bryant jumping a car now. It did make me smile a little bit a few times in the trailer, which, I mean, it should. If nothing else, Star Wars tends to put together pretty good trailers. I thought the Solo trailers were not very good, largely because they used another type of music, not the music that was actually in the movie, which was odd to me. But they had this like rock anthem music playing, and it did not work. And I just didn't think they did very well on that. But this is a Solo breakdown. But as far as the saga movies go, I mean, the trailers that they put together are always usually really, really good. This one just, it wasn't. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of people doing reaction videos where they're all like, oh, and screaming and there wasn't, like, are you really about to freak out because you just saw, like, Rey do a backflip or gainer over Kylo as he flew past her? Is that a crazy, shocking reaction? I mean, it looked like there could be some cool footage from the shot where it looked like the First Order was chasing Finn and Poe, which almost looked like it was what was supposed to be in the original The Force Awakens, where Poe was trying to escape on Jakku. It looks like they just kind of redid it. Kind of like a mix of that and the speeder chase on Starkiller Base with Rey and Poe, and they kind of mixed the two of them together and did it. And then I'm sure they're trying to make a kind of homage to the Phantom Menace and pod racing. That would probably look cool. I expect a lot of this stuff to look cool. I was actually disappointed with the end shot where it was like this ocean planet and then a ship crashed down above it. That seems to be an idea that was originally thrown around for Force Awakens. If you look in the concept art book for Force Awakens, Rey was going to go to a kind of water planet and have to swim down, and I believe it was the ruins of the Death Star was down there, and that was where she was going to find out a lot of information. They didn't use that, obviously, so it looks like they're kind of returning to that, but it's the color, it's just so dark in it, and I would have preferred a much brighter look to that. It still was just like, all right, cool. I kind of liked, it's too late at this point, but I liked that Kylo was putting his helmet back together. I did a video before how I think the symbolism of his helmet is important to the story. And so, but because of what Rian Johnson did with it, it's too little too late. It's already past how you could use or benefit from that helmet as far as the symbolism goes, at least as far as I can see. I need to think on it a little bit more. I haven't given Star Wars a second thought in quite a while. So maybe it could still work. But it's just, it does look like from shots like that and a few other things that JJ's trying to turn back. This is going to be the most convoluted back and forth, no real consistency at all trilogy ever. Where you're going to have JJ makes a movie, Rian Johnson does whatever he can to take away everything that happened in the prior movie so that it basically was all nonsense. And then now it looks like episode 9's going to do exactly the same thing. I mean, now Luke's talking to Rey, and she's got all the information from thousands of years of Jedi, and now it's on her. How? Because she took one book? You didn't train her any. Now I'm sure they can go and say he's been training her as a Force ghost and all that stuff, but that's just retcon bullcrap. Like, that's so stupid. But now she's got all the information she needs. And now she's the hero of this generation. The legend. There's a legend in every generation, which again contradicts The Last Jedi. Because the end of Last Jedi, the point like Rian Johnson was trying to make, because everybody was like, you screwed up Luke. That's terrible. But then the only kind of thing that he could say is like, no, look, we've all viewed Luke as a legend, like this mythical character, which he is, but like as a legend in the whole saga. And now that's what he is, because it ends with kids telling the story of what Luke did down on Crate. So then by that definition, the legend would be Luke. But you're saying the legend of each generation, and then you're showing Rey doing some acrobatic bullcrap, which would insinuate that Rey is the legend of this generation. But the last episode made it like Luke was the legend of this generation because everyone's telling the stories about him. And ironically, when he should have been the legend of the prior generation, because what he did in the original trilogy, everyone forgot about. Because it's been 20 years, so everybody forgets everything that ever happened 20 years ago. I mean, whew. As of today, I was 9 years old then. I definitely don't remember what was happening when I was 9 years old. Much less what was happening in history at that point. I mean, it's so stupid. It's so dumb. But I was saying about a few things that made me smile. I like the fact that I saw Lando. That I liked. It's kind of reminiscent shot. Obviously not the same concept because they were actually... they weren't flying out of the Death Star at that point, but kind of the screaming yell, just the happiness of flying, being in the Millennium Falcon again. I really liked that. But you knew that was going to happen. You were expecting that kind of stuff. I smiled at first when I heard the laugh of Emperor Palpatine at the end. It went from a smile to... what? To rolling my eyes. Because it was just a cheap ploy. That was all it is. I get that it's been set up, because people are going to say that it's been set up in the novels. But a lot of what's happened in the novels have almost, and I just mean the Aftermath novels, have little to do with what's happened with the storyline so far. You can tie it all in now in episode 9, but why'd you waste it in episode 7 and 8? We didn't really see much of anything about the Acolytes of Leon. Gallius Rax wasn't really used at all. I mean, he died, but there's no kind of connection. Ray Sloan wasn't really used at all. I mean, you got a little bit of information about General Hux and kind of where he came from, and why he is the way he is. But for those of you who didn't read it, there was a lot of stuff the Emperor Palpatine was doing on Jakku. A lot of dark stuff that was kind of hidden about, that he was kind of trying to keep secret. So I'm sure they're going to try to bring that in and connect it, because the whole thing is this whole series is going to connect. Whatever. I mean, I guess we'll see. We don't get much storyline. There's not that much point right now of talking about how they're going to fail at that. I mean, if JJ can pull this off, it will be the miracle of all miracles. He is the guy that's the mystery box guy. So you took the mystery box guy, the guy whose whole thing is about leaving everything to mystery and not answering anything. And then you decided to make him the final guy that closes out 9 episodes. Whose job, as I said with the title, how hard it is, how much harder is it for a movie to connect 9 movies together? One, you just got to make a good movie. You got to make an epic movie that people are just, I would say, excited for. You got to close out one of the biggest movie series of all time. You've got to close that out. You've got to close that out with one movie that's great. But then you also have to connect this trilogy that's been chaos, with the ups and downs and just flipping on each other and not following the storyline, and just things that were set up were destroyed. And you've got to connect that. And then you've got to connect that to the prior 9 episodes. How in the world does anyone do that? Much less a guy who's specifically known for starting things and not ending things. I'm not even a good artist to begin with, but I can draw a little bit with my right hand. It's essentially like they said, hey, okay, I know you're a decent drawer with your right hand, but here's what we need you to do. We're going to make a fully drawn out animated episode 9 for Star Wars. And we want you to do it, but you got to draw it with your left hand. And you got to make it good enough where everybody in the world's going to love it. And you got to connect it to 40 years of storytelling. And you got to connect it to the last episode that destroyed what you did in the prior episode. You got to do all that, but you got to do it with your left hand. It's going to be terrible, guys. I'm just going to throw it out there. I would make an awful episode 9. And then drawing it with my left hand, it's going to look horrible. But yeah, that's what we got J.J. Abrams doing. Oh, man. At least that's not a horrible idea. But I look forward to hearing some of y'all's thoughts. There's not much. I figured we would have seen more things like the Knights of Ren. It was nice to see Princess Leia, of course, but we kind of knew that. I'm surprised JJ didn't bring back in the Knights of Ren in that, or they try to do something where Kylo's at Vader's castle. That just would have been a cool kind of popping moment. This is a teaser, so I'm sure more is to come. I didn't even realize this was Star Wars Celebration this weekend. It's unfortunate. And of course, today's my birthday, and you would have thought that, oh, the closeout of the saga, Episode 9, the trailer being released on my birthday, and Celebration happening on my birthday weekend, it would be like the greatest thing. I didn't even know it was happening. I didn't even know Celebration was happening. I didn't even know the trailers. I just happened to look on YouTube real quick and saw that there was a trailer that was released like an hour ago. And I was like, oh, wow. I guess I need to watch this and comment on it. And I'm going to be gone tomorrow. I'm going up to Atlanta to watch the UFC fight, and I want to be up there for kind of my actual celebration of my birthday. So I'm not going to be paying attention to anything that's going on, so I'm going to have to be playing catch up on Sunday and try to get some videos out discussing or breaking down whatever information comes out in Star Wars Celebration. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and opinions on what you thought about this trailer. Did I miss something? Am I just too down on it because of The Last Jedi? Is it actually a great trailer? Is the title the best title ever made and I'm just blindly missing something obvious? I don't know. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and opinions down below. Thank you very much for watching, and never forget, you Nerf herders, I love you.